God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good.
Our physical reality is a shadow of a larger reality. And I was blown away when I first saw that, because that's exactly what the Bible's been saying all along. Einstein made scientific history by recognizing that we really live in 4 dimensions, by adding time to the mix. Time is a physical property. We know that we live in at least 10. That's the current dimensions. 4 of them are directly we can experience them. But we know there's 6 others that we can't get at directly, but we know we can infer their existence mathematically. What makes that provocative to people who've discovered that is that a Hebrew sage by the name of Nachmanides, back in the 13th century, predicted that from studying the text of Genesis. He concluded that our universe has 10 dimensions, only 4 are knowable, to use his term, and 6 are not knowable to us. And I find that fascinating, because we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on atomic accelerators to discover what Nachmanides did by studying the text. So the 10, some say 11, there's some debates among mathematicians about details, but there's awareness within the advanced scientific community that we live in more than just the 4 dimensions that we directly experience. And that in Genesis 3, when God declares war because of the fall of man, the creation was made subject to the bondage of decay, the entropy laws and all of that. Apparently we're somehow tied to God's curse on the everything we know about the creation is post-curse. Prior to the curse, it may have had 10 dimensions, and for some it was fractionated. So that some of us tend to regard those 6 inaccessible dimensions as the domain of things like angels, the domain of paranormal behavior.
And they had as a king over them the angel to the bottom of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he is the name Apollyon, or Apollo, the sun god. Now this is specific to the location of CERN, and that's a good place to start, is with the geography. CERN is located in a French town that was a former Roman temple site to the god Apollo. The Romans believed that that location was the doorway to the abyss. So they've been very specific in a spiritual sense in their location of this machine, which is the largest, most expensive, most complex machine that has ever been built by man in recorded history, even more complex than the Tower of Babel. And I mentioned the Tower of Babel because the agenda is the same. With the Tower of Babel, it was more of a spiritual mechanism, if you will, that was at play, trying to open this doorway to the abyss. They claimed they were trying to reach heaven, when in fact what they were trying to do was open this doorway. This is the stated agenda of CERN, is to open this interdimensional doorway.
Something strange is happening inside Saturn, and it's really bizarre and interesting that these news outlets, these quote unquote mainstream outlets, would be talking about CERN, talking about lifting the veil. Parts of the article it just seems to be that they're slowly disclosing some of the things you've touched on regarding Saturn, but specifically to that, real briefly, the rings of Saturn. How does that relate to CERN and what they're doing? Is there anything there?
Yes, again, the timing, I like to say, is exquisite. We have been talking, you and I, since back in, I believe, I want to say about May of this year. And at that time, when we first spoke of, or I presented my conclusion from studying the occult worship of the planet of Saturn, that it figured in to the activities at CERN because Saturn was a prison planet a planet that had trapped entities, what we would consider to be demonic entities, as a prison planet. And it's the goal of CERN to not only open this interdimensional portal, but doing so in connection, literally through physics, a connection with the southern pole of Saturn, to unlock the planet, to free these entities so that they may travel, as I have said, along Birkeland currents to the Earth and join up in the bottomless pit, because CERN is the key to the bottomless pit and is situated right over the ancient temple, Roman temple to the god Apollo, sun god Apollo. And therefore, we have a connection to the bottomless pit by way of CERN, and also a connection to the southern pole of Saturn, unlocking Saturn's prison. So we see this activity of the rings of Saturn beginning to move or rotate. They've obviously been stimulated at the same time that I said that they are colliding heavy ions.
Yo, look, Black Blown coming back with another video. Look, I know a lot of y'all may know about CERN. Whether you do or not, I figured I should do this video and show y'all a couple clips from a couple people who like really are very well knowledgeable about CERN and about what they are trying to achieve in opening the bottomless pit, the abyss, basically giving demons and all kind of entities that look at us like how we look at ants, and inviting them into the world, inviting them into our realm, tapping into dark energy that releases upon the earth and basically causes fucking havoc. You see what I'm saying? You could tie it back to why the world is the way the world is today, because of the energy that's being released into the universe. This is not natural. This is not natural. It's not something that humans just automatically up and start doing, you know, killing each other, just committing fucking crazy evil acts upon each other. No love, no trust, no nothing, you know, basically completely flipping the balance of nature and what we're here for. And the love that we're supposed to show to each other. Everything is evil as fuck. Everything is me, self, do what thou wilt, Aleister Crowley type shit, you know what I'm saying? Evil is hell, you know, so we got to know that this CERN shit, this CERN is just, this is Lucifer, this is fallen angel technology. Know that we cannot build this kind of shit on our own. This is deeper. This is way deeper than just what we are faced with on the physical level. This is spiritual. This is to basically kill God and create a universe with no time, no God, you know, no universal law, no universal balance. You see what I'm saying? That's their goal, because these Nephilim spirits, these demon spirits, these fallen angel spirits, they host bodies, and they keep their mission going on as long as they possibly can. And this is why this stuff is increasing in the times that we live in. This is why CERN has been built, and they're building another one in China that's like 2 times bigger than the one in CERN, Switzerland. This is why it's increasing, because they know they have just a little bit of time left. You see? So nothing new is under the sun. They're going to continue to try to do this shit, to access these interdimensional doorways, the abyss, to invite these demons into the world and basically just change the entire energy of the universe, you know, to devour, because that's all these spirits want to do. So I just felt like, you know, I should put these clips together and make this video, you know, whether y'all seen it or not, like I said, and just to kind of like resurface this shit, you know, because there's still a lot of people out there that are like, you know, really active on what's going on in CERN, Switzerland, and shit. Yeah, we just gotta be aware of this kind of shit, you know. Y'all don't gotta, you know, go and, you know, really be a stickler to find out all kind of shit about CERN, but it's just so you're aware of what is going on, and that this is being force-fed on us. This is not just us naturally, you know, becoming so evil as people, you know. There's a, you know, there's a way bigger, way darker agenda going on than what we can control on the physical level. So yeah, I'm not gonna make the video too long. I'm not gonna talk to y'all too much about CERN. I'll just play these clips that I gathered, and y'all could just listen for yourselves. Yo, real quick, and y'all should also know that there's a lot of predictive programming out there about the Hadron Collider and what they do at CERN. You know, like I've said before, the rules of engagement, you know, the devil is going to let you know everything that they're doing, basically without telling you, you know, so you can never say they didn't let you know, you know, and it's in all kind of shows, especially Netflix. Netflix promotes it heavy. Of course, I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen Stranger Things. You know, Stranger Things is basically about CERN and opening the abyss, the fucking Demogorgon and all that shit. That's basically exactly what it is. It's not even really much to explain. Even in Spider-Verse on Netflix, there's a Hadron Collider, a particle collider in Spider-Verse on Netflix. Even the show The Dark, which may be the most interesting one out of the shows and movies that they use for predictive programming with CERN and basically opening these interdimensional doorways, portals. And the dark is something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, y'all don't have to go watch it, but that shit is on another level. Like, and it got a lot to do with time traveling and all that good stuff, and it got a lot of symbolism in it. A lot of symbolism. Shit, I can't even touch it all. Really, like that's something you could hit damn near a whole video on. You know, but yeah, that's just to show y'all how they play on our minds. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, some of this stuff backfires because the way that our generation is programmed these days, the way that we think, we usually tie things together with the stuff that we look at, right? So someone could be like a non-believer in this kind of shit, you know, and kind of brush it off. But by them putting it in movies and relaying it in a way that we could, you know, understand it, it'll turn somebody that didn't even believe in this kind of shit into a believer, you know, and to wanting to expose this kind of shit. So sometimes them using that kind of predictive programming backfires, you know, because then you wake up certain people to this kind of shit instead of conditioning them for something that may happen in the future. You eventually wake them up because it relates to them. You see what I'm saying? The people of our generation, they notice, don't get me wrong, they notice. That's why they use predictive programming. It's because they know we need to understand things on a level that doesn't really take time and effort. You see what I'm saying? So it's why they put this shit in shows and movies that we probably love and fucking watch, like Stranger Things probably being the biggest, you know? And we just sitting here loving the show and the little kids and all that shit, when this shit, it's really programming your mind. It's on some whole other shit, you know? And you just thinking this is fucking fiction. You just thinking this is just whatever, you know, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like I was saying, I feel like it backfires in a way, you know, because you won't be so programmed for long because you can relate to it. And then once you find out what it really is, what they really showing you, it kind of like triggers your mind. And now you on a whole nother level. You researching this kind of shit. You like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you may have not even believed in God on some shit, but you start looking at all this shit and seeing what they doing. And next thing you know, you done turned into a whole believer. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying predictive programming through this shit is good, but sometimes it don't always work. Sometimes the shit completely backfires and you end up waking up a whole group of people, you know, because they decided to put this shit in shows to sort of tell you what they doing without really telling you. So, yeah, I just had to add that in there real quick. Kind of slipped my mind. But anyway.
Is to try to be a liaison between them and you. Is to try to take what's going on in that collider and break it down to where I can understand it and I can give it out so you can understand it, to where it makes an application to your life and to this world as we know it today. For what is happening in that collider is an astounding thing. So I want to read something to you this morning from what's called a theoretical physicist. This man, his name is Stephen Hawking. He's well known throughout the world. Anyone that has anything to do with nuclear energy or has anything to do with physics knows this man. And he is one that some rate even on the level of Einstein and of that level. And so I want to read to you what this man has to say about what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland. Listen carefully. These are the words of Stephen Hawking. He recently warned the reactivation in March of CERN's Large Hadron Collider could pose grave dangers to our planet. The ultimate reality, check, we are warned. Hawking has come straight out and said the God particle, and this is what you've heard referred to time and again as the Higgs boson particle, the God particle found by CERN could destroy the universe. Now let that settle in. This man is an atheist, and he says there is no God. Yet he says that what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland, and I'll give you what they're trying to do in a moment, what's happening at this very minute in CERN, Switzerland, has the potential to destroy the universe. This is a theoretical physicist. Now, physicists come in all kinds of sizes. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has also sounded the alarm in a hypothetical manner by telling anyone who might want to blow up a planet how to do so is this CERN's attempt to do so by attempting to recreate the Big Bang within a man-made structure. This has frightened Stephen Hawking so much. Do they know that they know that they know what they are doing? Ask yourself, how much energy is keeping it together? Neil deGrasse Tyson told co-host Eugene Merman on his Star Talk radio show, then you put more than that amount of energy into the object, it will explode. Now I think I've got your attention. I've quoted two physicists. These are scientists. These men do not agree with what's happening in CERN, Switzerland right now. There is a 17-mile long accelerator that lies 300 feet beneath the surface of the ground. This area is where France and Switzerland come together. So part of this accelerator is located in France and part of it in Switzerland. It is a joint European project. The United States of America is there as an observer, but the brain power that's going in to this experimentation originates in Europe. They are attempting to recreate what they believe happened that brought all of this into existence as being the Big Bang. Now, you and I know from the book of Genesis, chapter number 1, that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. He spoke it into existence. They are finding things, and this is what's important for us to understand today. They are discovering things that they did not expect to discover as they get deeper and deeper into this experimentation and development and research and so forth. They are beginning to find out that there is a whole lot more to the creation than they had ever given thought to before. They're beginning to find out that there's something going on here that boggles the human mind, that literally blows us apart when we try to even comprehend what's happening. This 17-mile long underground tube that is located there in Switzerland has, I think, 4 or 5 different points where they collide with, some say, protons and maybe something else, but particles that are being moved at or above the speed of light inside this collider. Now, for your information, there is one near us in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, but it is not nearly as large as what we're dealing with here. And apparently, the larger the collider, the more speed that they can attain, and the more they're able to get deeper into what they're looking for. They're looking for the very building blocks of what brought all of this together. To give you an analogy, let's say you have a house. You observe that house, it's beautiful. You think, my goodness, let's see how this is put together. And so you start taking the house apart and you expect to find nails, but instead you find glue. That fascinates you that much more because you find glue holding this house together. You wonder to yourself, what was this glue like before its hardened state? Because you see, once the glue glues the things together, it hardens, solidifies. They want to know what the glue was like in its liquid state. So they're going through this to go back to that point to where they can separate and find out what this was like then. And by doing that, of course, they can build on the information and knowledge that they attain. Now, what's going to follow in the message this morning is the implications of what's going on. But let me give you just a little bit of what has been happening. Where they have done this experimentation, strange things are happening, unexpected by the scientist. Paranormal phenomena, they like to call it. Apparitions, ghosts, all kinds of demonic spirits are beginning to manifest themselves in ways. Here we have, in CERN, Switzerland, a huge wheel. Inside that wheel is a Hindu god, and his name is Shiva. He does a dance of destruction inside that wheel, and his purpose is he is one of the triad gods, one of the greatest gods of Hinduism. Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. Brahma is the god of creation. Vishnu is the god of preservation, but Shiva is the god of destruction. The way the Hindu sees it is that when Shiva destroys, it's not for the purpose of annihilation. He destroys so that Brahma can come and recreate. So now when the Hindu, since they're scientists to CERN, they put this out there in front, and so what these people are doing with the collider is destroying what comes together, but for the purpose of recreating and find out what brought it into existence to begin with. Are you following me? Yeah. Now here we have men that are scientists on an average of an IQ of anywhere from 160 to 200 or even above. These are some of the smartest brains in all the world. No question about it whatsoever. I pick up physicists and try to read some of this stuff. I think, didn't I? Forget me. That's for a brain that is wired that way. No question. But we were told when Darwin's theory of evolution came out and became vogue, that it would destroy the foundations of Christianity, and this old book that we hold in our hands, this old outdated Bible, would no longer be relevant, and a lot of people bought into it. Because after all, Darwin is scientific. But it's an amazing thing now that 150 years later, we have some of the greatest scientists in the world that are becoming very religious. Because here they've got Shiva, they've got dances to Shiva, and they are definitely being connected with Shiva as they're finding things. Let me give you one example. In one of their collisions, when they collided these particles together, they saw things. They were apparitions they didn't expect to see, and they didn't fit in any model. They didn't fit anywhere. They don't belong, but they could not deny the reality of it. Something was going on inside there that they could not explain. And it was scary for them. For the scientist has his paper and his pencil and his books, and if it doesn't fit in his paper and his pencil and his books, it's out the window. They don't understand. They have a hard time accepting the fact that there is a spirit world out there. That spirit world was created by a spirit being, an almighty, eternal, absolute being that is from everlasting to everlasting, who put in me what I am today by the power of Almighty God and by the power of the new birth. But a scientist like that will never admit that, because that takes it out of his control and his power. He's got to be able to demonstrate his theory and put it into motion.